Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Maverick Mindset Radio Show. I'm Adam Williams.
I'm Ashley Muckinhaupt.
I got excited. The bass is turned up in my headset. I sound good. And this is the radio show for the dreamers and doers. It's for those who are willing to step into the arena.
Some call us the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers.
We don't accept the status quo. We leave the world better than we find it.
We approach each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind. We maintain a rational optimism about the future.
This is the Maverick Mindset Radio Show, brought to you by me, Adam Williams. How's your weekend?
It was good. It was a good week.
Did you? We were talking about this before the show. It's Wednesday. We can talk about our weekend, though, because I think that was the last time I
thought
saw
you were going to talk about Penny's gift.
Oh, we should. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that. So we had Penny's 7th birthday party over the weekend, and your daughter and Penny are friends.
Yes.
And your daughter chose a present.
She picked it out.
And now you're looking for a new job. I had
no idea.
So I got to describe what this thing is, because we've talked about Penny on this show. We've talked about stuffed animals on the show. This thing was a stuffed animal.
Yes, that's all I thought it was.
Shaped like a fluffy ice cream cone.
Yes.
And it actually came with instructions, and the instructions are you have to remove all of the fuzz, like literally sit there and pick all of the fuzz, and the thing changes colors.
Oh, that's.
It's great. Royce actually liked it too. Like he gets into that like deep work, focus stuff. Yeah, and they shredded this thing over about 2 days. My poor housekeeper has gone on strike because there is orange and pink and yellow fuzz everywhere in my house because a dog steps in it and then tracks it, and it's these tiny little like static cling thing. We were going to talk about the presidential debate, but I think we should talk about this instead, because this was a lapse of judgment on your part.
I didn't read what it was. It looked like this stuffed like ice cream thing, and it came in a vacuum sealed bag. Yeah, I had no idea.
You got to be a little suspicious.
I mean, I let a 9-year-old pick it out.
Yeah, unbelievable.
She's like, that one right there. I'm like, okay.
Did she know?
Yeah, she knew.
Okay.
She knew and didn't tell me, though. Like, I didn't know till we were driving away from and I'm like, what was that? Anyways, was that like a, whatever they call those stuffy things or whatever? And she's like, oh, no. Yeah. You gotta, she thought they were feathers, but you gotta like.
It's worse than feathers. And I haven't decided, and I may not decide. I may do both. She's either, your daughter for her birthday is either going to get a llama or a flamethrower.
I know.
Or maybe both.
I was
like
dying.
It's still in my basement. Like it's Wednesday. This was Sunday. There's still stuff all over the basement. All right. So did you watch the presidential debate? I
saw parts of it. Yeah. I didn't watch.
You didn't need to watch the whole thing. I don't think anybody survived the whole thing, including the candidates. It was rough. It was rough to watch. And actually, that's going to relate to today's topic. We're going to talk about leadership today, which we've been talking about for a while.
That.
So, but before we get into it, should we talk about where we are on the internet?
Yes.
Because we're still out there.
Yep.
So we got the YouTube channel getting updated. The YouTube channel is correct. We've got a playlist with the videos up there that are getting edited. We got the thumbnails. Like, this is becoming more and more legit. And is this episode 15?
I just wanted to be like, too legit.
You would. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what happened. Joel said, you want to renew for another 13 shows, and we were too legit to quit at that point. So we're on Facebook. Blowing your minds every Wednesday at 9, going live at 9:05. Maverick Mindset Radio on Facebook. That's still where we've got the bulk of our followers, posting good content there. We've got some other really good stuff coming out on the Facebook page soon, which I'm really excited about. But we've had to shuffle some people around on our team to get the production where it needs to be. We got all the episodes up on Spotify and of course YouTube, and then MaverickMindsetRadio.com. Put in the code Maverick10 for 10% off our merch. We got books. I was actually thinking last night as I was getting ready for this show with my notebook.
I have my notebook too.
I'm going to need a new one soon. I've been writing diligently in there. And I appear to have lost my coffee mug. It's probably just in my garage.
Not okay.
Like I need a dishwasher in my garage because you take coffee out there and forget it's there.
There's probably a lot of coffee mugs out there.
All right, let's get into this. You want to start with the quote?
Yeah. So I did, because I picked one that I liked, but I know you like.
I was supposed to pick the quote and then I didn't.
I picked it.
Yeah, you did, which was fine. So
yeah.
The quote of the day, today's topic is leadership.
Yep.
Let's hear it.
All right. I picked, a leader takes people where they want to go. A great leader takes people where they don't necessarily want to go, but ought to be. And I picked this.
And then it says, Ashley says why she picked this.
I have notes.
Okay.
And I picked this because I think one of the characteristics of a great leader is when you are pushing people out of their comfort zone. You recognize that they are not in the place that they should be, and you encourage them to take the steps to be uncomfortable and get to the place that they need to be, where they ought to be, in order to grow.
I just heard you on replay on Facebook. Yeah. I was pulling it up there. Yeah, I actually think that's good, and it's one of the things that I want to get into today, because I wrote down some characteristics of what I think good leaders are, because it turns out that I've studied this stuff for a while and paid attention to it. If I had to pick a quote, and I didn't because it's my show and I can do whatever I want, but if I had to pick a quote, you got me that Christmas gift that had a quote from Gandhi that had, and I don't remember the quote, and I should have taken a better picture of it, but it was like, a leader is measured by the number of leaders that they develop. Yeah. Right. So it's like a pyramid scheme of leadership.
Yes.
But that one's really stuck with me, and we're going to talk about why, because I think there's actually, as we talk about leadership, there's like stages and levels to this, and that's like top level stuff. So I think that's going to be really, really, really good. So let me go back in history first.
Okay.
Because I don't know why, but this is like just one of those things that's stuck with me since 1999, 2000. So we're talking 24, 25 years. I took a leadership and management class in high school, and it was taught by a retired captain. I want to say in the Navy, maybe it was the Air Force. Didn't matter. Everybody just called him Captain. And if anybody who went to prep is listening and knows where Captain Lysenring is, if he's still around. But he taught a leadership and management class, and it was really interesting because I feel like I memorized a lot of lists in high school. Yeah. I feel like that was a lot of studying. Yes. Like, what are the top 5 things of blah, blah, blah?
Yes.
And I remember things from this leadership and management class that still come up in my day-to-day life. One thing I remember, I don't know what it was. I had like this white binder that I took my notes in, and I'm not a good artist, but I really like graffiti and street art.
Yeah.
And I wrote leadership and management on my binder, and it looked like really good graffiti, which I was pretty stoked about. That's one thing I remember. But more importantly, I remember 2 different lists from this class that I still use probably on a weekly basis in my adult life. Like they're just like mnemonics, things that pop into my head that I remember. So, and one of the distinctions I want to talk about on today's show is the difference between management and leadership.
Yes.
Right.
There's a difference.
And I believe that leadership is more challenging than management in a lot of respects. But I also believe that everyone is a leader, but not everyone is a manager, if that makes sense. And we're going to get into the distinction. And I thought about that last night. This was the benefit of, like, Penny was so tired after her soccer game last night, she fell asleep, and there was silence. Actually, no, there was smooth jazz out by the fireplace thinking through this. So everybody's a leader, whether you're a parent, a sibling, a child, an employee, somewhere out there, someone looks up to you. They look to you as an example of something. Whereas with management, not everybody has those responsibilities. So let's talk about the distinction.
Okay.
The responsibility of management, the first responsibility of management is to get the job done. The second responsibility is to keep people reasonably happy. That was one of the lists I remember from this class.
Okay.
Priority number 1 is get the job done. Priority number 2 is keep people reasonably happy. In the 25 years since I first learned that, those things have flipped, and sometimes the word reasonably has been taken out of there. That we think it's our job to keep people happy, and then if they're happy, they'll get the job done. And this one drives me crazy, and this is why it comes up so often in my life, is because I don't know where I heard this story or this lesson, but it's kind of like building a fire. And there's this segment, I'm going to get fired up today. There's this segment of society that believes the fire should provide the heat for them before they put any wood on the fire. That's not how it works.
No.
You do your job, which is what you're here to do, and then I will make sure that you are reasonably happy. Yep. Right? We'll do all of the other crap that has to get. But if you're not getting the job done, it's not necessarily my job to make sure that you're in the perfect frame of mind
right.
and everything in your environment is exactly the way that you need it to be in order to perform. That is a recipe for creating a whole bunch of losers. And people who win and people who are successful get the job done.
Yes.
And then second to that, worry about being reasonably happy.
Yeah.
That's not to say you do it all at the sacrifice of happiness and the sacrifice of doing what you enjoy. But the point is, if you don't get that job done, if you don't get the work done, the rest of it isn't going to matter. Okay, so priority number 1, get the job done. Priority number 2, keep people reasonably happy. The second thing I remember from this class as responsibilities of a manager are 3 things.
Okay.
Set priorities, delegate authority. Ooh, a 911 convertible just drove by. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I missed it.
I should go make friends with that guy. I hope he's listening. Hey, if you're listening, turn around.
If it turned around and pulled right over.
Yeah, you know what? That guy gets work done. You know what? I bet
he gets work done.
I hate to make assumptions because we're not about that, but he's heading in that direction. He's probably a surgeon. All right. Sorry. Management. 3 things. Number 1, set priorities.
Yep.
Number 2, delegate authority. Mm-hmm. And number 3, follow up. Mm-hmm. That's the essence of it.
Yep.
Here's what we're going to do for the next 90 days. I am empowering you to get it done, and I'll be back in a month to see how it's going, yep. Or a week, or a day, or whatever. So managers set priorities, delegate authority, and follow up. So that's it. Get the job done.
Yeah. I feel like they manage the systems, the processes, and make sure, and the tracking of it.
Mm-hmm.
And
people. It's making sure you're hitting goals. It's making sure you're doing your job.
Yeah.
Right. Leadership is a little bit different than that. Mm-hmm. I think leadership is more about growth. It's about helping people reach their potential. It's about improving. It's about working as a team. It's about my favorite corporate cliche of synergy, where 1 + 1 = 3. But you get a group or a team or a system or a business to work in a way that's better than any of the individuals on their own. And I think to be a really successful leader, you've got to have that vision. I think that's one of the distinctions.
Yes.
And I've just paying attention to people who do this stuff, watching successful people, watching good leaders, emulating them a little bit. I think it's really important to have a vision that's big enough that other people's vision can fit underneath it. Mm-hmm. So I'm going through this right now. Actually, Jackie and I took Monday and today. I was in the office yesterday, but 2 days this week, Jackie and I are resetting the vision for Pennywise Tax Strategies. We launched about a year ago. We've been really successful. Yeah. We've got a bunch of really happy clients. We're ready for the next stage. Yeah. So let's take 2 days and redetermine what the vision is here. And as she and I have been working on this, it's really fun because we've got a marketing vendor right now who's helping us run some Facebook ads, and they're pretty successful. This dude, this guy and his company love us. Mm-hmm. They love working with us. And he is disappointed in me because I'm not pushing him hard enough. He's pushing, what's next? What are we going to do next? What are we going to do? Like, all right, so now this is done and it's working. What are we going to do next? And it's like, listen, man, I got the marketing thing. Now I got to go figure out, I got to work with you on sales. I got to work with production. Like, we're not ready for the next marketing thing, but he's so excited about what we're doing. Yeah. Because we're defunding the IRS and we're empowering entrepreneurs and putting more money in their pocket. And he wants to be a part of it. And he knows that we're not thinking small. Right. So he knows that his business will be more successful if he's a part of what we're doing. Yeah. Right. Like that is I love it. It's cracking me up. And I heard this story recently and this was years and years and years ago, early years of Apple, I think. And Steve Jobs was looking for a new CEO, and he needed somebody that ran. And if you've studied Steve Jobs or read the documentary or watched the movie, he was kind of a jerk. Actually, he was a total jerk. Oh. And it really bothers me when they edify him as this great person. He was a great business person. He was a great visionary. He had huge impacts on the world, but he was a jerk.
But as a person, he was a jerk.
It was a human. It was a human being. He was below my standard. Yeah. Okay. But they were looking for a CEO. They needed a legit CEO who would run a big company, and they were trying to recruit a guy named Scully from Pepsi. Okay. And Steve Jobs called him, left a message on his answering machine. So you know what era we're talking about.
Yes.
And Steve said, listen, you want to keep selling soda water to kids, great. But if you want to come change the world, call me back. and Scully talked to his wife and eventually became CEO of Apple. But like that's the vision that he was selling.
Yeah.
That's what made him great as a business person, is he had that vision and other people wanted to be a part of it.
Right.
So that's our little bit of a distinction between
I think
management and leadership.
When you talk about vision, you create this belief for others to want to follow that same vision, right? So it's not about saying, I think, and that's the, part of the difference between the management and the leadership as well, is that, management has to manage how everything gets done. But as a leader, you have this vision, and you have to make sure that the people that are following you and part of your team are invested in that vision as well. Right?
Yes.
Because if they're not, they're just doing their job. And when you're just doing your job, you're just doing the basics just to get the job done. But when you're invested in that vision too, when you believe in that vision too, I think that's when you want to go above and beyond to make sure that that vision comes.
And let's make it abundantly clear. Most people are just doing the job.
Right.
Most people are being managed, or even managed poorly.
Right.
Or managed to their minimum expectation.
Yeah.
That's most people. That's most businesses. Great businesses and successful people and great people focus on the vision and the leadership more than the management.
Yeah.
So I was driving back from Pittsburgh a couple weeks ago. This was right before I left for St. Louis. And I stopped in Grove City, halfway point. Like I stop at Sheetz on the way down to Pittsburgh, because that's that side of the exit. I stop at Country Fair on the way back. And I stopped at Country Fair to grab a water. And I left, and I was sitting in my car getting ready to leave. And the cashier walked out of the store holding 2 bags of groceries and held the door because the customer that was there was on crutches. And I noticed when I was in there, like, this cashier was friendly. He was super nice. Because I said, I don't even remember what I said, but whatever, like, I think they had the big bottles of water. And I said, man, I gotta come down here more often. Like, this brand of water in this size bottle, I struggle to find it. And he goes, well, yeah, come back and visit us anytime, right? Like, you don't get that from a lot of cashiers.
No.
And then the next customer he interacted with, he carried the guy's bags out to his car because he was on crutches. Like, what a great example. And frankly, that dude probably isn't taught that example very often. He's probably not trained on it. He's probably just genuinely a nice person. But that was noteworthy for me recently. So I heard the distinction, and I haven't stopped talking about this event because it's only been a week and a half, but I did get to go and see Ed Mylett speak in St. Louis at the Arte Syndicate a week and a half ago. And he said that managing is minimizing weaknesses, leading is maximizing strengths. Mm-hmm. I thought that was pretty good.
That is good.
I thought that was a good distinction. And as I started thinking about characteristics of great leaders, that maximizing strength thing really kept coming out for me. So I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, and I think it's worth mentioning again. I believe that everybody is a leader. Not everybody's a manager. Right? Not everybody has that responsibility of setting priorities and delegating authority and following up and making sure that the job gets done through others. Some people just have to do work on their own. But but as far as leaders, like everybody has someone else who looks up to them. Everyone has someone else who aspires them or is inspired by them for some reason, right? Like I aspire to be like certain people in certain ways, whether they know it or not. That is a characteristic. That's being a leader.
So that was one of my questions, is if you thought that leadership is something that everyone could be, right? You could, or if it was specific to the person and their specific characteristics, because I like when I get to disagree with you, because I don't agree with that statement. I do not believe that everybody is a leader. I think it takes...
All right, give me an example of somebody who's not a leader.
You want a name? Like you want to...
Or like generically describe the person if you're worried about calling them out. But give me an example of somebody who's not a leader.
Well, I think a lot of... I think a lot of people are a boss, and I think a lot of people are a manager. I do not think that everybody is a leader, because
give me an example.
Well,
give me an example.
I don't know a specific person, but what I'm saying
because you can't think of one.
Define. maybe your definition of a leader is
I just spent the last 24 minutes defining leaders.
24 minutes? Well, no, because listen, this is what you do to me.
You listen.
Listen. To be a leader, you have to. It's a privilege, and you earn that title. And just because you are leading a group, right? Just because you're in charge of something doesn't mean that you've earned the title of a leader for people to want to willingly follow you and believe in you. So a leader isn't somebody that just is leading something.
Okay. Yeah. You're close, but you're wrong. Everybody's a leader, but there's a distinction between being a great leader and an average one and a poor one. But everybody's a leader. The cashier across the street at the coffee shop who checks us out is a leader in some way, right? Well, remember the first time we went there and the service was really great?
Yes.
Right? He's setting an example.
Yes.
You learned from that experience things that you do in your life. He has actually caused you, in some ways, great or small, to act differently. That makes him a leader. Now, he may manage a team, he may be a shift manager, or he may own the business. I don't even know. But he treated us in such a way that it actually influenced your behavior.
Yeah.
And here's a dude who makes, whatever, $12 or $15 an hour working a cash register.
Yeah.
Everybody's a leader. Not everybody's good at it, right? And some people can be leaders with ill intent. But here I think is, I don't even want to get into that yet. Let's talk about characteristics of great leaders.
Okay.
Because I think that'll help further draw this distinction. I think, you know what, I had an extra note on this that I didn't write down either, but I think qualities of great leaders, they tend to have charisma. Mm-hmm. And I believe along with charisma comes that vision, comes the ability to motivate and inspire and like allow people to believe in what you believe in. Right. So I think charisma is important for being a leader.
Okay.
Did that cashier at the coffee shop have charisma?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great leader. I think great leaders have self-awareness.
Okay.
Because they know their strengths and weaknesses. Right? Like anybody who says I'm perfect and I got it all together, first of all, is either lying or is just full of it.
Right.
I think the great leaders know what they're good at and what they're not good at.
Mm-hmm.
And just like they're going to maximize other people's strengths, they're going to maximize their own strengths too and reduce their weaknesses. So I think they've got self-awareness. I think they have respect for other people.
Yeah.
And respect is a tough one because, again, I think society defines it the wrong way sometimes. I can get really intense about things. I can get disappointed in things. And people feel like they're being disrespected. Like society's become so afraid of results, so afraid of stepping on the scale, so afraid of having a light being shined on what they haven't done properly that it becomes disrespectful.
Yeah.
I think there's nothing more respectful than showing somebody the truth. Mm-hmm. And this is how we come back to the presidential debate. But respect, I think, is a quality of a great leader. They respect other people as human beings. They respect the effort that people put in. So they're respectful. I think great leaders have vision. We already talked about that. I think great leaders are great communicators. Mm-hmm. So they've got an ability to clarify and simplify.
Yes.
And I think repeat that over and over and over again. So this is an area where I actually want to improve because you could probably, how many different quotes do I have that you could rattle off the top of your head? Like things that I say over and over and over again.
A lot, but don't ask me.
Maybe 5. There's probably 5 things that if a situation arose, you're going to repeat something that I've said. If it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist.
Yes.
Speed and simplicity.
Yes.
Like you know the things that I'm talking about.
Yes.
The problem is I have 15 of those things going through my head, and I don't repeat them or say them often enough.
Right.
So one of my shortcomings as a leader is I think I'm pretty good at clarifying. I think I'm pretty good at simplifying, but I don't repeat things enough. Because what I should be doing as a leader, and we've talked about this too, is getting people to think about things the way that I think about them.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason we have this show. If I was more repetitive in the things that I've clarified and simplified, in our vision, in our core values, in what really matters to us, in our guiding principles, or The Bear. Have you watched The Bear season 3 yet?
I haven't started season 3. I know that. I know. I have
episode 2
because I know I'm gonna binge it.
It's crazy because episode 2 he writes down a list of non-negotiables, and if you haven't seen The Bear, I don't want to ruin it. Go watch it right after this show is over. Start on season 1, episode 1.
It's on Hulu.
But he writes down a list of non-negotiables. And I have been thinking not about non-negotiables and not about core values, but really on guiding principles. Like, what are the things that are important to us that sometimes we do really well, sometimes are more aspirational. So I've been thinking a lot about repeating those things more and more and more. One of my shortfalls as a leader is I say something once, I say it clearly, I say it sometimes brilliantly, and then people go and get it wrong. And it's like, man, if I just took some more time to repeat it over and over, to say the same thing in a slightly different way, right? Yeah. Not changing the message, but changing the way that the message is conveyed.
Yeah.
I'd be a better communicator. I'd be a better leader.
Because people hear things differently. So you have to...
Sure. Yeah. People hear things differently than I say them. That happens all the time. You and I just talked about this last week. You and I had a miscommunication on something pretty significant. And it's like everybody else is so worried. Oh, Adam's pointing fingers at Ashley and Ashley's pointing finger at... No, we're trying to figure out what went wrong so we don't do this again.
Right.
And then it turned out we both made the mistake.
Yep.
So, all right. Qualities of leaders. I believe great leaders also have courage, because part of being a leader is making decisions or standing for what you believe in or recasting your vision, even though other people may disagree with it. So I think you've got to have courage. All right, this one's next level. I believe you can be a good leader without this, but to be truly great, you've got to show gratitude.
Yeah.
And that's a tough one for me.
Yeah.
Like I think it sometimes, I feel it, but I don't say it enough. And I think if I showed more gratitude, that would make me a great leader. I think great leaders have to have resilience, because again, if you've got charisma, you've got the vision, and you're pushing towards something big, there will be things pushing against you. There's
going to be challenges.
Yep. So you got to have resilience. Yeah. And I think
the leaders can't break under challenges.
You know what?
Because the people are watching, right? So the rest of everybody's worrying. Everybody's like, you're looking to the leader to be, through those challenges or through the hard times to say, I got it. We're good.
Yes, but you actually have to believe that, which is why I believe great leaders also show vulnerability.
Yeah.
Vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
I had to say that twice because I stumbled over it.
Oh.
Great leaders have to be vulnerable, and they have to show that. I think they got to know. Again, they have to have self-awareness. They have to know their strengths and weaknesses, and if there is a weakness or if there's a threat, they have to acknowledge that. And they have to be able to tell their people, listen, like I'm scared too, but I'm resilient and I've got the vision and I've got let's go. Let's get this done. I'm going to make you better than you believe that you can be on your own.
Right.
So I think
that's how you get people to continue to follow you and not say, "Oh, it's bad." Like I was thinking about, you ever all the movies where they have like the leaders or the one that's in charge, and they're going, like, whether it's the captain of a ship that's going down, or if it's, like they have to be the one to fix something, but they're not coming back. Like, what was the one? I don't know, forget it. But what I'm saying is they're like, and then you get like, so the team starts to walk away, or the people are like leaving the boat, and then somebody's like, no, I'm going back. I'm going back too.
That was the band on the Titanic.
No, it was not the band on the Titanic. There's many movies where your military movies, all that, and then the team's like, no, we're going back, and then the other people watch, the other person go back. Next thing you know, that leader's not alone anymore. The entire team believed in it. Like, if you're going down, I'm going down with you. If you're going to fight, I'm fighting with you. If you're going forward, I'm going forward. Like, we are here. If you're going
to keep playing violin as the ship sinks, I'm going to play my trumpet next to you. Yeah,
right. If you want to keep referencing the Titanic,
it's a great example.
But I'm just saying, if you create the belief in the vision enough that people want to follow you, they're going to, even during those challenges,
for sure,
be right there as well.
Yep. All right, last one. Qualities of great leaders. I actually just wrote down a different word for this one because I thought about it a little bit more. I think great leaders have to have compassion. Initially I thought they have to be forgiving and they have to be understanding, but really that's compassion, right? So I believe that great leaders know that nobody's perfect. I believe that great leaders know that people make mistakes. I believe that great leaders know people do the wrong things for the right reasons. Mm-hmm. And they work on that and develop that. So I think that's the last characteristic that I wrote down.
I think empathy. And don't say it's the same as compassion.
It isn't the same.
But I think that is something that is required for a good leader, for a great leader. I think you have to have empathy, because if you can't understand and feel what someone else is feeling, if you can't put yourself in that situation, if you don't have the empathy to want to, you don't have the need to want to understand or to help or to make a situation better, I don't know how you can be a great leader. I don't know if you can't, it's that whole like feeling like, and when I'm on sales calls and I'm hearing people's situations and Jackie was just talking about this the other day, you know, someone that was like in a situation and she's like, I just feel like I need to do something. Like I feel what their situation is and I want to help. And it was such this like empathy for what they were going through to try and find a solution to help them and I think and that's part of being leaders, finding the solutions to problems. And if you don't have the empathy, how do you find to understand how somebody's feeling or the situation they're in? How do you find the solution that helps them?
Okay. Right? I like that. Yeah. Yeah. You've got to care enough about the person and their problems to want to help them fix it.
Yes.
Not necessarily fix it for them, which is not a great characteristic of a leader, but to empower them to make the decisions, to do the things to fix it for themselves as much as possible.
Yeah.
That's a good one. All right. That was intense. That was an intense first half of the show.
It was.
I'm sorry. I thought
Joel, I was holding my breath.
I thought we had the air conditioning on in here.
Yeah, Joel, what happened?
All right, Maverick Mindset Radio, July 3rd, Independence Day tomorrow.
Yeah.
Pretty excited about that.
Yep.
I don't know. I think I'm just excited to have a day off. We're going camping, but streaming live Maverick Mindset Radio on Facebook, talking about leadership today. And you know, I did want to bring this up. We've mentioned it a couple times. We talked about it before the show. But the presidential debate, I just listed a whole bunch of characteristics of great leaders, and neither of those guys have a bunch of those. Yeah. Like I get caught in a really tough spot here because I believe there's really a lack of leadership from the office of the president, and I'm saying this in a completely nonpartisan way. But you've got one guy who stands up there and blatantly tells mistruths, like straight up lies. You could fact check 80% of the stuff that he says, and a whole bunch of it is going to come back just wrong. And he doesn't really care about that. But he's got charisma, and he's got a common enemy, and people get behind that. And then the other guy can't start a thought and complete that thought before moving on to the next one. And it scares the crap out of me that we haven't got anybody else in a position to compete with either of these two guys. Now, here's the reassuring part to me. For me, it doesn't make a heck of a lot of difference. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, this guy's horrible and that guy's the worst. It was really great where like there was a portion of the debate where I was watching where they were arguing over which one of them was the worst president of all time. And 167 presidential scholars said you were the worst of all time. Yeah, well, I've got my people that say that you're the worst of all time. Oh my God. I thought, I've seen 5-year-olds have that argument, right? And then one of them ends up in tears. That didn't happen on the debate. But I think the good news is for me personally, it doesn't make a whole heck of a lot of difference because I'm still going to do what I'm going to do regardless of who's in there. But it does make me concerned about the lack of leadership in this country, that no one steps up and is able to maintain enough momentum to compete with either of these two guys. Like it scares the crap out of me. Yeah. As we're coming into the 4th of July, it's really interesting to me because I've talked about on this episode, like things that I think are shifting in society that are very concerning. Yeah. People are primarily concerned with the environment and their attitude and their mindset being perfect before they act, versus I act and it actually improves my mindset and my attitude and the circumstances of my environment. Like when I finish a day, whether I want to or not, and I've crossed off everything on my power list, or I've done the workout that I didn't want to do, or I followed the diet that I didn't want to follow, or whatever it is, I feel so much better than if I hadn't done that stuff. Yeah. And instead, too many people just sit there and wallow and continue to be miserable and don't do anything about it. And I don't know. There's a lack of leadership there. There's a lack of, you know what it is? It's a lack of good examples being set by others and people following that example.
Right.
like there's this, it becomes toxic to just want to like, ooh, I almost swore. It's become toxic to want to kick butt, but I want to say the A word, right? Yeah. It's become toxic to want to dominate. It's become toxic to want to win. It's become toxic to want to set a goal and accomplish it. When did that become such a bad thing? I love this dog. He walks by every Wednesday morning.
Aww.
I saw him the other day. It's a girl going up to her apartment outside the studio. Every Wednesday morning they walk by. I was downtown the other day and I saw her and the dog walk by, and I wanted to like stop and say hi, like, hey, I know you, but you don't know who I am. So that would have been weird. I'm glad I didn't do that.
So it becomes toxic when those things are done the wrong way. When they are, I'm trying to think of the word I want to use. When they are, I can't think of the word. When they are acted upon in the wrong way. When they are said the wrong way.
When it comes down to intent.
Yeah. None of those things are bad things. But the way people use them is incorrect. Like, it's the way that, you want to kick butt, you want to
Let me give you an example
win.
of how this has become a toxic or a negative thing that's so backwards and is such a great example of why I will continue to dominate.
Yeah.
People get a job and they want to be paid for their potential. No, I pay you to do your job. I will incentivize you for your potential. But I got 22-year-old kids applying for jobs that want to make six figures, and no offense, they don't have a clue what they're doing.
Right.
They have no clue what they're doing. And they think they're worth that because they probably have a friend who's making that somewhere because they work for some idiot who doesn't understand how like compensation should actually work, and that's not a sustainable model. And we've actually seen that since the pandemic, that wages have started coming back down because employers got so dumb with what they were paying people and people got so lazy. But they want to be paid for the results they haven't yet achieved.
Right.
And what makes me successful as a business owner is I can be patient on that. I'll struggle through building something new. Yep. I will invest money. I will lose money knowing that someday my reward is going to be 10x that.
Yep.
But you have people that come in and they want to be paid now. They want that fire to provide them heat without actually having to put any wood on it. And it's a shame. And we continue to permit this crap. And that's not what makes somebody successful. In fact, I think a good leader is someone who encourages someone to be patient and encourages someone to reach their potential and tells them, listen, the rewards will be even greater if you can accept this thing for now.
Yes.
If you can make a sacrifice now, the rewards later will be greater. And we've lost that patience.
But no, what we've lost is leaders. Because you can say that. Well, you can't. You could say that. But if I don't trust you, if I don't believe in you, if I don't see the vision the same way you do, I can't accept you saying to me, be patient. Just wait. Accept this for now. If I'm just in it for the job, if I'm just in it for the pay, that's when you get employees that are walking out the door. That's when you get employees that don't want to work with you. That's when you get employees that aren't getting results. But if you say that to me and you're a good leader and I believe that you're going to 10x things, then I will be just as patient. And I will play the violin on the ship too as it goes down for a little while.
You're a trombone. But
I'm not I'm totally a violin.
I need to go back and read that transcript because that was really good. Because you said something like you basically have to believe in me as a leader.
Yeah.
And you have to see the vision. And like you've got to know.
So like I'm going to get fired. Let me say this because
you just backed your chair up from the table.
Because this is where I get okay.
And you're between me and the door.
Okay, so this is where this is like the whole thing with the good leaders.
Yep.
I got so excited I forgot what I was going to say. So like you need to have great leaders in place, right? You have to have the leader. You said everybody could be a leader. Yep. This is where I don't believe that, right? Yep. Because you have to be the leader of, and this goes to entrepreneurs and business. This is why I think they fail too, right? You want to own a business, you want to create a company, you want to create this big thing, right? If the people that are coming in, they're not coming in as leaders. They're not.
Oh, no.
They're not coming in as leaders. You're going to help create that, or you're going to show them what a good leader is. And if you can't do that, if you can't be that person that is showing them the way, helping them grow, helping them to understand what it is that you're doing. If you can't create them to rise to be on the same level you are, I don't know how you can sit there, and I was almost going to swear too. I don't know how you could sit there and complain that your business isn't doing what it's supposed to be doing. Well, maybe you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing.
All right, here we go. Here we go. This is it.
Have.
This is about to be the most valuable piece of content on this entire episode because you teed this up perfectly for me.
Thank you. Oh, you're welcome.
You wanted to be gracious, but you also wanted to be arrogant. Thank you. You're welcome. Oh, what music did you listen to on the way in today?
I don't know. I was listening to Foo Fighters.
See, there you go.
Yeah, that'll get,
Jackie and I are going next Friday.
Nice.
We're going to see the Foo Fighters in Fenway. How do you find out like what songs bands have been playing on tour? I can Google that, right? Yeah, I got to go and do that. Because there's one of the Foo Fighters' most famous songs is All My Life, and I really struggle with that song because it always feels offbeat to me.
Yeah.
Like it just sounds like off rhythm, and I know I got to go look up like the musical signature of that. Okay, sorry, I took a lot of your momentum.
That's right.
Here's why this is so hard: is because to become a very successful leader and business owner, you've got to go through 3 evolutions, at least 3 evolutions. Mm-hmm. You've got to become a different person at each one of these stages.
Yeah.
Stage 1 is where you're doing it all. And I know we have a whole bunch of listeners at this stage. Like it is hustle and grind mode. Yep. It is market and sell mode. It is do everything because you've got a lot of time and not a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's stage 1. That is the stage that most people get stuck at for the longest period of time and think, man, had I known then what I know now, I would have never even started this business.
Yeah.
Stage 2, you have to learn how to develop a team. Hiring, growing, training, delegating, setting priorities, following up. We talked about that. We did the hiring playbook episode a few episodes ago. That is a very empowering level. Like now suddenly more things are getting done, more clients are being helped, you're creating jobs, you're doing cool stuff. That's a huge step though, to release the vine, to go from stage 1 to stage 2 where you're growing that team and building that team is really, really difficult. You can achieve huge levels of success stopping at that level.
Yeah.
In fact, we reached that level, and that's what got us on the Inc. 5000 list, and that's what gets us on Law Firm 500, and that's what gets us certified as a great place to work. You can achieve huge success at that stage. Here's the next stage, and where like third stage, like next evolution, different type of person, you go from developing a team to developing other leaders.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate. If we had a leadership team of 4 or 5 or 6 people that were really well developed as great leaders, we would be killing it.
Yeah.
And we do great. We do pretty well. We've built a great team. But I have not developed the skill to develop other leaders in a good enough way yet to really throw fuel on that fire.
Right.
So that's tough. Like I complain about it, but it's my own fault because I haven't developed that skill and I haven't become that type of person who's developing other leaders. Now, if you've listened to all 14 and a half episodes of this show and you're understanding what we're talking about, chances are you're a great leader and you should come and work for us. But I think that's the big difference is stage 1 to stage 2 is hard enough, where you go from doing it all to building that team and hiring that team, and you can delegate the smallest thing or the biggest things or the least expensive things or the most important things, and that is a difficult enough skill. But to develop other leaders who can develop other people, that's where this gets really challenging.
Yep. And it's recognizing that, like you just said, like I haven't, you're at that stage and you have to do a better job at doing that. And that's the difference between a great leader or somebody being like, well, it's not my fault. They can't do, you know what I'm saying? Like it's owning that responsibility and that accountability to say, if I want them to be here, I need to build them up to be here. That's
a huge challenge of being a leader, is seeing other people's potential.
Yeah.
And 1, getting them to see it in themselves. I believe in you. Yeah. And 2, after you get them to see it, to actually get them to do the things to achieve it.
Yeah.
Like that, rough. Can we talk about some things that you can do to close that gap a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be helpful. So these are a few things that I've done and continue to do that I think have helped me as a leader and wish I could do more of. But there was a turning point in our business. I mean, several, but one of the biggest ones was, gosh, I would have to go back. I think it was 2018. I think it was January 2018, where I went on my first one-man strategic planning vision quest. I call them clarity breaks now because it's fewer syllables. But the vision quest of like, I rented the cabin, I went out in the middle of the woods, and I had nothing but a blank notebook and some paper. That's not true. I had a whole bunch of other crap with me, but because I needed some like data and numbers and results from prior years. But I mapped out a plan of how our business was going to grow that year, and we did. We grew like 50%.
Yep.
And then I did it again, and we doubled the next year. So getting those clarity breaks, I did this last night. You know, I had like that hour after the kids fell asleep where I could just sort of collect my thoughts. And I got a little bit organized for this show, but really spent a lot of time thinking through what Jackie and I are going to continue to work on today with the vision of the business and our goals for the next 90 days and what the team is going to look like and where we're going and what metrics we need to hit. Clarity breaks. And it's tough. Especially with small businesses, because getting that time away, you're always in the business. You're always in the business. So to take that time to get away, I've seen this a lot with some of the coaching clients that we're working with. The simple fact that they get out of their business, and we do a lot of these meetings at my house. We get in my basement and we got the whiteboards and the notebooks, and there's so many aha moments of, had they not taken the time to get out of their office or store or business, they would have never seen the growth that they've seen. So taking clarity breaks, I think, is a big one. Second one is to learn and love your core values. Mm-hmm. So Jackie and I just did this because we've got core values for the business. And we've found that when we're doing things that are in compliance with our personal core values, we're a lot happier, we're a lot more successful. So for me, ironically, or not ironically, one of my core values is leadership. I want to develop other people. I want to let them see their potential and fulfill it as much as possible. I also value adventure, fun, freedom, and making a difference. If I'm doing something and it checks 2 or more of those boxes, it's a really great thing for me to do. So I've learned this about myself. Not everybody shares these values. Jackie values excellence. She values truth. I share that one too. That's a good one. Faith or belief. Having an impact and experiencing joy. Now she can get those through different things, and she and I can go on adventures together where I'm feeling fun and free and she's feeling joy. Like that, keeping those things aligned is really helpful for us. But knowing what's important to you and knowing your core values. We did this exercise, the core values exercise with a deck of cards. It's probably 100 cards, and we narrow it down to these 5. It was really funny because you go through it the first time and you set aside the ones that resonate with you, and Jackie picked like half of them. But you go through over time and you consolidate and you narrow down and you say, okay, these 3 are actually the same, very similar, so I'm going to pick the top one of the 3, and you really narrow it down. So we had, I don't remember where I got this deck of cards, but it's a core values deck of cards, and it was a really helpful exercise for us. But it also makes you realize like how many other things out there other people value. So I think learning and living your core values is really important. Third, casting and recasting that vision. So this is what you talked about. I got to see the vision. I got to have the belief. I got to know that I'm a part of it. I got to know that you care enough about me to make me part of that vision or allow me to be a part of that vision. And I think just continuing to re-share that. Like for us, why does our business exist? Why do we do the things that we do? We're trying to help entrepreneurs and we're trying to defund the IRS. And a lot of people buy into that vision. Some people don't get it. Fine, no problem. But there's a whole lot of room under the umbrella of that vision for other people to fit. And I gotta cast and recast that vision over and over and over again. And then the fourth thing is spending time with leaders you admire, or at least studying them. You can read the books, you can read the biographies, you can watch the documentaries, but it's even better to spend time with them and see them at work. I mean, that's part of the reason that I go to a lot of the seminars and workshops and things that I go to is I get to see these people in action. I get to see how they actually operate, and especially on like the behind the scenes stuff. Like you can listen to a podcast and get a pretty good idea. If somebody's authentic, you can get a pretty good idea of what they're all about, but seeing them away from the microphone can make a huge difference. So those are all really good practices. The other things that I've been working on, like, I guess, I don't know if I'd call these habits, but maybe practices, is being positively present. Yeah. So presence became tough through the pandemic when we were working from home and we were trying to do more stuff over Zoom. And now we're back in the office a lot of the time. But even as a parent, being positively present, it's not just the fact that I'm there, but it's that I'm there and I'm showing up as the best version of myself. Same thing with employees. Like I may have to take that 30 seconds before I walk into the room and try and shift my energy because other people are going to feed off of it. So being positively present has made a big difference. We talked earlier about just communicating better, more clearly, more simply, repeating yourself over and over and over. I think getting clear on goal setting, which we've talked a lot about on this show. So knowing what your goals are, knowing what your team's goals are, and trying to align them and helping people accomplish those goals and get roadblocks out of their way. And then, frankly, leading by example. Whether you do it on purpose or not, you are leading by your example. Like, I just bought that hat that says set the standard. Like, the way that you act sets the example for other people and lets them know what they can get away with, lets them know what's expected of them. And I think leading by example and setting that standard and acting the way that you wish other people acted is probably one of the most significant forms of leadership. That's why I've decided, this is going to shock you. Are you ready to fall out of your chair?
Yes.
I've decided I'm going to start doing my own dishes in the office.
Thank God.
Right? But there you go.
Most of the dishes in the office are Adam Williams. So that's a huge...
They accumulate. But that was the point, is I always thought, I'm too busy, I got too much going on, like somebody else can handle this. And usually I would pick somebody else to do it. The beetle. It's cute.
It's the color.
But that's what I've decided, like, you know what? I shouldn't be too good to do that. I shouldn't be too busy to do that. I should start and we've got a dishwasher, and it's not like an overly complex thing. But it was a really good example of
KP will really appreciate.
KP will. I'm sure Chrissy will. I'm sure everybody who has to look at my dishes in the sink is going to appreciate it. But that was the point. It's like I thought it was okay not to do that, and now I'm realizing no. Like I gotta set the example. I gotta show them like that we want things to be neat and tidy and orderly and.
Well, it's not that it's just that, but like showing people like, hey, I'm not above doing my dishes. I'm not I'm not above.
That's tough for me though, because there are certain things that I want to be above doing. That's not to say I won't do, like, I feel like I'm usually the one picking up trash if it's out on the sidewalk or whatever. But there are certain things that you don't want me doing low level tasks. You want me working on the vision for the business.
Right.
You want me finding more growth opportunities and more things for us to work on, not, I don't know, putting more paper in the photocopy machine. No. Now, if it runs out, of course, I'll do that. No. But like that, it shouldn't be my job to make sure there's enough paper in there. Like if there's 3 sheets left and there's no warning, I shouldn't be the one going in and checking on that. I shouldn't be the one making sure that we've got enough pens and notebooks in the office, right? So it's tough. I mean, because I want to do it all and I want to set the standard, but I also need to do things that are higher value. Yeah. So that's become a challenge.
Biggest takeaway, and if I were doing the action item today, I would say
you can go ahead. I'm going to empower you to do that.
If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, I challenge you to look at yourself and ask yourself if you're a great leader, and understand that it's a privilege and it's earned. And you've earned the right to call you leader, because not everybody's a leader, so don't go thinking you are, regardless of what Adam said.
We're not ending the show on a disagreement.
Understand that it is earned, and that you know that you've earned that title when you have the people that are following you understanding your vision. They're working not for you, not against you. They're working with you.
You know what helps with that too is having a common enemy. Like, we're going to fight poverty, or we're going to fight the Democrats, or we're going to fight the IRS, but like having a common enemy can really sure.
Yeah, and understand that they are with you every step of the way. When you're angry, they're angry. When you're happy, it is those people believe in the vision that you have, and they're going to follow you no matter what. That's when you know you've earned that they could go anywhere where the grass seems like it's greener. So they choose to be where they're at.
All right. So your action item is to step on the scale and see where you stand.
And if you're an
your
employee,
action item,
what?
Find an example of someone who isn't a leader.
I'm going to. Mm-hmm. And if you're an employee,
as much as I believe in you, I don't believe in you with that. I don't think you can do it.
I can.
Great show.
I believe in me.
Great show. I believe in you. See you next week.
That was a good show.